Okay, I think we're going. Hello, everybody, and welcome to our masterclass with Ben Gioia. We're going to be talking all about how to create your signature coaching program, and probably some other business messaging stuff with a heart, which is what Ben specializes in. He's got some pretty impressive credentials, so I'm going to rattle those off to you so that you know the caliber of masterclass teacher, professor you've got with you today. So Ben is a speaker, coach, best-selling author, and the president of influencewithaheart.com. He shows people how to make bigger impact by inspiring their clients, customers, or audiences to say yes, which is what we want. Ben has helped transform culture at a Fortune 100 company. He's trained global business leaders at Stanford. He's created a mindfulness and empathy video game for 16,000 customer experience representatives. And he's won an award from the ALS Association. And I'll let Ben talk a little bit about that later. And served 32 million people by helping launch one of the biggest magazines in the world. So thank you, Ben, so much for joining us today. It's awesome to have you here.
My pleasure, Benny. Thank you so much. It's great to be here.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, so I think we're going to just go ahead and get straight into it. So the format, and correct me if you had any other thoughts or if you want to change this at all, but the formats, you're going to talk a little bit to us about messaging, and then we're going to actually hot seat with everybody in the group, and you're going to sort of walk them through a series of questions and then give them some feedback. And then I'll sort of be listening and then rope in, other people to contribute to, and I'll keep my eye on the group. Does that sound like an okay format?
I think that's everything. Yeah. My quick intro. Thank you all for dropping stuff into the chat box. That's really helpful for when we're actually talking. And then, just going through the stuff, the purpose and kind of structure of this call, which I imagine you've experienced before, is to get that whole mastermind. So, yes, I'm here and facilitating and offering some guidance, and so is Benet, and so are all of you. So, everybody's opinion, everybody's perspective, it all matters here. It's all important. I might just talk a little bit more than everyone else, like that, that kind of thing.
Sounds perfect.
Thank you. Thank you.
And you're in a good group who's ready to do that. So
awesome. Yeah. So I just wanted to have everybody, I guess, first and foremost, arrive here. I mean, yes, we're here, but really, really arrive here because a really important thing that we're all going to need to do today, myself especially, but for all of us, is to really be able to listen, like very, very actively listen. It's really easy to listen just to be ready to respond to someone, to give an answer, give an opinion, argue, whatever that is. But we really want to listen today before we get to that place of responding. So a good way to do that, and what I find really, really helpful, is if you can feel your feet touching the floor right now, like can you kind of get that sensation? And if you don't have it, push down a little tiny bit with your feet until you get it. And then just, kind of be aware of that feeling and just breathe in and out for a couple times, nice and easy. And just try to stay present with that feeling of your feet. And if you space out or lose track, just gently go back to, to that feeling, those feelings in your feet. And just do that for a breath or two more. Okay, awesome. Thank you all for doing that. That's something I just taught all those 16,000 people through the video game was, hey, here's something you can really do when you just want to be like, hey, I know the answer. Hey, I can tell you how to fix that. Hey, I can tell you what's wrong with you. All of that stuff. So, three kind of ideas that I want us all to keep in mind as we're orienting ourselves around today. The first one is that, what we're doing today, what you're all doing, and what we're all going to continue to do with our businesses and with our work and with our lives, it's all about practice, right? It's practice, repeat, practice, persist, breathe, practice, repeat, persist. So it's so incredibly unsexy, and it's absolutely the truth, right? And if you start there, like you can do pretty much whatever the hell you want to do from, from there, but you got to put in the work and keep putting it in, because that's where the rewards come. It's the same with this. So, we're going to dig in a whole bunch today with your stuff. But it's important to remember that we're not going to have all the answers today. And, your naming of your stuff, your signature program, your coaching, whatever it's going to be, is going to evolve over time as you evolve, as your audiences evolve, as you discover kind of new markets and new people to connect with. So, really important to get, awesome ideas out on the table and start using them. And at the same time, it's really important to kind of hold them, lightly in your hand, right? Like enough that they don't fall out, but not so much that you're squishing them and, losing your passion or your delight or anything about them. So that's the first one. The second one is a friend of mine. I saw a quote of his recently. He hosts community building dinner parties all over the country. He just invites a bunch of people, and then he cooks a bunch of pasta and they eat it and they all build community around that. So he wrote that people are more likely, I'll put this in the chat box, people are more likely to create long-lasting relationships when they connect over shared energy rather than shared content, right? So the words, of course, that we're going to be playing with and discovering and exploring today are vitally important, absolutely. And the energy that we bring to them, to the words themselves, and the energy we bring to our writing, to ourselves on video, all of that stuff is just as important. People really, really pick up on that. So authenticity is really key here, right? Because, if something's out of alignment, somebody reading your stuff or watching you on video or hearing an audio from you, like they're going to hear that. Like you can't fake that, right? So, and none of us would want to fake that either, because it wouldn't feel so good. And then the third thing I want to kind of for us to keep in mind today, and this is not actively keep in mind, but this is more the, allow it to frame the experience, keep in mind, is a quote from someone who I can't remember. It says, remember, people don't want to be sold a product or service. They want to understand how their lives are going to be better with you in it, right? Because we're offering coaching, we're offering this really engaged, transparent, trust-based service. That's a big deal. So totally key. And I can see you all, or most of you at least, nodding your heads and going, yeah, that makes sense. So I'm glad that does make sense. So we're about to jump into the doing part of today. But before we go any further, does anybody have any questions? Does anybody want to offer any reflections, feedback? Benet, do you want to do your thing?
Yes, I definitely want to do my thing. Thank you for those quotes too. I'm so excited to post those somewhere. Cool. Tracy, you want to kick us off?
Me? What am I saying? I was shaking my head going, no, it sounds all great. It sounds all great to me.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah. Just wanted to check in. I'm going to go through. If anybody just wants to say anything or give Ben any kind of feedback, that's totally cool. Okay, Kim, how about you? No, all good. Okay. And Jill?
I'll hear your voice later.
Yeah. You got to come off mute. There we go.
Yeah, I was trying to unmute it on my picture, not down the bottom of the computer.
I do that too.
I just wanted to say that was great. Yeah. I mentioned to Benet earlier, I was feeling a little bit anxious about today. I'm feeling a little bit more relaxed. So thank you. That was really great. Yeah.
My pleasure. I'm happy to hear all that.
Yeah, me too, Jill. Thank you. Lynn? All good. Dr. B, you want to say anything? You want to add anything in there? Are you going to talk?
Absolutely.
Yeah, okay.
I'm good.
Cool. Okay. Good to have you all here. All right, Ben, back over to you. I think that was just a home run.
Thank you.
That was like right from my perspective, that was like right in alignment with the vibe and the values that we're always doing in our groups and I do in my work anyway. So it was just like spot on. And I wish Stephanie was here to have heard it because she's a mindfulness coach too. She would have just loved that. But she'll get to listen to the recording. So, okay.
Awesome. So There, I think there are two things we can do right now, and I would love all of your all's thoughts about it. We can dig right in and start doing the workshop-y stuff, or I can talk a little bit more. The questions that you all looked at, those 7 questions. I can say a teeny bit more about that if that would help, orient you all today. You want to do that?
I think that would be good, just to kind of get us a little bit more warmed up in alignment with those questions. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And then we'll get into workshop.
Yeah, and this is the short version.
Okay, cool. You've got the video in the classroom if you want the long version, where Ben and I go through all of the questions in a lot more detail.
Exactly. Yeah, so that first question, you know what, I'll drop them in, or Benet, can you drop them in the chat box as I'm going through them?
Sure.
Thank you. That sounds great, and then I can just talk. So that first one is, what's your individual purpose, and can you talk about it in a way that inspires and excites you? So there's a whole bunch of obvious in that statement, of course, like we all get that. What I wanted to share with you was that, my first business or the first iteration of my business was called Marketing with a Heart. Like that was kind of where I came in the door, so to speak, into this world. There was a need, I was excited about it, it matched kind of myself in a big way. But after about 5 years, it was doing okay, it wasn't doing great. And I looked at it and I was like, you know what, that doesn't tell the whole story, right? And I did a bunch of thinking and reflecting and received some coaching, some really good coaching that involved getting super clear on purpose, on your purpose, and getting that, excuse me, clear, articulate, inspiring to myself statement of purpose made me go, oh, marketing with a heart is not the whole thing. It's actually influence with a heart, right? Like that was much more in alignment with who I am, what I'm about, the impact that I want to make, and to not put myself into one single box of offering, but to be able to talk about influence from leadership perspective, communication perspective, mindfulness perspective, that kind of thing. So I think it's really important to find, put your stake in the ground, put it more in the ground if you haven't already, and just like I said before, it's okay to change, right? Like don't rush to change, but it really, really is okay to change. And 2 weeks after I made that change, literally, I got the 2 biggest contracts of my life, which completely, was that, 10x thing, or, whatever you want to call it, that rocket ship kind of launch that needed to happen. And so much of that just came around about purpose.
Yeah, that's really cool. I don't know if anybody wants to say anything, just put it in the chat box. I'll be monitoring that. And then otherwise we'll just let Ben keep going through the questions.
Yep.
But yeah, if you want to pitch in, because I can't see you all. I know Tracy often raises her hand. So I can't see you all in the same screen. So just put in the chat, I got something. Okay. And Ben, over to you.
and Benet, I'm not sure, you might be able to click, I think it's speaker view in your Zoom. Because on my screen, I can get everybody. You might be able to.
Okay, I'll play around with that while you keep going.
Totally. So the second question is, what have your clients already shared with you, right? So, ask your clients, keep asking your clients. Very often they can tell you, what that program is or what your coaching could be called. If a bunch of your people are saying, hey, I'd really need, fast, awesome way to do my taxes, you could call your program Fast, Awesome Way to Do Your Taxes. I mean, it sounds juvenile on the one hand, and it's one of the most powerful things in the world, because if you use people's language, they think you're listening, they think you care, they trust you, they think you really get them. If they think you really get them, then they assume on some level that you either have the solution to their problems or can guide them to finding that solution for themselves. Really amazing. So ask your people.
Yeah, that is really powerful, and a lot of the participants in this workshop have just gone through a process of engaging at that level with their customers. So, and we've found some beautiful language that they're using that isn't necessarily our language that we would have used, but yeah. So we've got some good information on that. Ben, Lynn just asked about the first question. What are some of the questions that you can use to unpack your purpose?
Gosh, like, why am I here? And then after you answer that for a little while, you say, why am I really here? And then you could even do that a few more times. You could also just go online and say, like, how do I find my purpose? There's so many people, like, there are beautiful, a bunch of different ways that people, offer different renderings, different questions. They're all the kind of the same question that ask you to look inside, to get quiet and look inside on some kind of level and, connect to the things that excite and inspire you. And I guess I like to say is, I learned this from Bob Proctor, do the thing that, absolutely like delights the hell out of you and scares the hell out of you. Because there can be some big magic in, right in that. Very tricky.
That's interesting. Just for the record, Tracy is putting together a program that does just this, helping people reconnect with their purpose. Nice. But one thing that I found really helpful about finding my purpose is getting really in tune with the things that I love to do and bring me happiness, and then building a business around those things. Like, I love to collaborate. I love to work one-on-one. Just making a big list of all those things where you just light up and you're like, you just feel amazing and recharged after it. And then see if you can build your business around that. Jill's shaking her head. You want to add anything, Jill?
Just that, I just think for me, like, finding my purpose is all around what am I passionate about, what energizes me, what do I really love doing? Because if I'm doing something and I'm not energized by it, then it's probably not my purpose. It might be something I have to do, but it's not my purpose. And so, yeah, for me, building my business around what actually really energizes me has been really, really important for me. Yeah.
Yeah, I think going to that energy state is really important. Another thing that helped the work that I did with Nicola Grace was she got us to think outside of ourselves and go to these global goals. I can find the link and post that. But there are these big global initiatives that sort of like, are you interested in ending hunger or contributing to the deforestation? Like, just thinking outside of yourself, ending poverty, and then all these things, contributing to the wave of new education in the world. For me, that got me to think out of myself and think a bit bigger. And that was really, really helpful because I stopped being so scared for some reason. Yeah.
That's a good way to say that. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah. Really cool.
Okay, let's go ahead and move on to question 3. Oh, thanks, Tracy. Tracy just posted the link to globalgoals.org. I should know that.
Beautiful. That's great. So third question is, who's your most important audience? How would you describe them? How else would you describe them? So, just keep talking to your people, right? Keep asking them questions, keep communicating with them, let them keep giving you that language, those words, keep telling you the things that you need. Keep engaging them. Like, don't stop that stuff, because, your audience is evolving as you are evolving, and, you can take them with you as you evolve, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. I want to pitch in here, if that's okay. Lynn had a really specific question, but Lynn, can you save that one for when it's your hot seat? Because I'd like you to share that one with Ben. Is that okay? Just nod. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, but on that thing, I love what Ben is saying about who's your most important audience, how do you describe them, how else, and it's always evolving. One mistake that I'm going to confess that I made in my business was I love personal development. I love coaching. I love helping people. But I was so obsessed with like living my life and living in Thailand and living on the beach and not working that I tried to create all of these like online things and passive income streams, and it was working to some extent. But what happened in that process was I lost the engagement with my ideal client, and I stopped connecting. And then guess what happened? My business stagnated because my finger was not on the pulse. My heart wasn't in it in the same way. And I've started re-engaging, and man, I'm showing up differently. I'm connecting. I'm loving my work again. So it's sort of a version of, I think, of what you've said there. So keeping your finger on the pulse and then allowing it to organically evolve and shift as your clients come to you and present their stuff to you is just a beautiful place to play, to co-create in. Yeah, and I think, I hope that's all kind of what we're aiming for here, is to be in that place where you're really serving and you're really calibrating every single day.
Yeah. Well said. Well said.
Thanks. Okay, next question.
So that as part of the conversations, asking them questions, et cetera, is understanding, what's going on in their heads, so you can figure out, the words that are going to resonate with them and connect with them emotionally. Right? Because people, do things, or they think they do things by logic, which is part of it, but emotion plays in a really big way. Often the logic comes after the fact as a justification for the emotion and the action. So, this is not something to be misused, but, connect with people in an emotional place, right? Ask for their story, share your story, be transparent, be authentic, all that stuff. Give them a whole bunch of value, right? All of those things, work in that kind of little zone in a really nice way.
And what's coming up for me, and that is for those of you, we did the top 3 challenges question, and we made our A to Z diagrams. So some of you get this and some of you don't. Anyway, but that A is where they are now in their words. That's what's kind of the connection that's relating me to this question.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you for connecting thoughts. Benet, that's really great. Cool. And then whether this actually comes into your naming or just helps you think about your stuff and yourself, is what 3 things define, who you are and how you work. So I like to say simple, catchy, and memorable, as just kind of loose ideas, the stuff that creates and cultivates trust among people. And 2 big reasons why, at least for today, what I mentioned before, like we are essentially, the brand, the product, the service, and the message all wrapped up in one, right? Like we are the package of ourselves, without trying to get too philosophical here. So, who you are, what you're about, the stuff that's important to you, the stuff perhaps that you hear, everybody says that I'm blah, blah. Sometimes that can be indicative of something.
Yeah, I'd love to invite Tracy on, Ben, because she actually took your question and posted it in her Facebook group.
Oh, right on.
Yeah, and then got some feedback. Tracy, you want to tell us just a little bit about that experience?
It was very humbling, actually. Yeah, I thought, why not? It's my group of ladies that, know me anyway, so why not put it out to them and see what they think about me? Because sometimes it's really hard to work out these words for yourself. I think,
Absolutely.
Especially when you don't want ego to take over. So, yeah, I got some great words from my ladies. Yeah,
nice.
Awesome.
Cool.
So thanks, Ben, for putting that question out there, because that inspired her to take that action and get that feedback.
My pleasure. Can you tell me the words? Can you tell us the words?
Oh, how many?
The most resonant one?
The best 3. Probably the most common one I got was vibrant, authentic, and empowering.
Great. Okay, that's huge. Yeah. Yeah. So live that up.
No pressure.
Absolutely not. Cool.
Thanks, Tracy.
Yeah, thank you very much, Tracy. Yeah, just one other thing that I wanted to mention. Benet mentioned Nicola Grace. So I don't know if all of you all know Nicola or know of Nicola, but anyway, I was the guest speaker at Nicola's event in November in Australia, which is how I met Benet. And Nicola, the way she describes herself is as the mission mentor, because that aligns with some of the words, or maybe not the exact words, but those kinds of things, like helping people connect with and express their mission, being this very kind of powerful teacher. And then the name of her program, which I actually named for her over lunch, in Los Angeles many years ago at an event. So funny, was called Right Mission, Right Money, or is called Right Mission, Right Money. And then her upsell, so I guess Right Mission, Right Money is her group coaching, with some products in it. And then her upsell, or at least it used to be, is something called Mission Magic. So you kind of get the coherency of branding, right? There's that mission word in there. So that's another thing to think about, as you're talking about your stuff, as you're presenting your stuff, try not to name, this thing zebra and this thing like baked beans, really, really important. My book, my coaching program, the variations on, the learning modules that I offer, it all has influence with a heart in there somehow, right? It just makes your life easier as well, And then if you think about, like whatever your kind of core thing is, that can also help you think about the the content that you want to be writing. I talk about influence with a heart. My big things are empathy, story, leadership, and mindfulness. So I talk about those 4 things, and then from there, like variations as necessary. But it again keeps me sane, right? Like I know how to keep some parameters on my own stuff, because otherwise, like it just turns into an administrative crazy mess.
Yeah, I'm a big believer in that sort of I come from sort of an IT and project management background, and you always are trying to lock in scope creep. So the barriers that you're talking about it defines your scope of where you go as a coach. And then once you've got those like 4 main pillars that you teach, you can go incredibly deep. And once you start going, like I thought, oh gosh, I'm only going to coach coaches on this one thing. But man, the more I dig, the more there is to learn. And then of course, technology and everything shifts, so you just have to keep adapting to it. So having those 4, I think that's brilliant.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, and it could be 3 pillars. Try not to go past 4, because then it's too cumbersome sometimes for the person you're talking to and for yourself. And the nice thing I also like to think of is you can, when you have your 4 pillars, you can go from tagline. This is my term, so you all can't take it. I'm sorry. You can use it, but don't take it. From tagline to training. So if you know your 4 pillars, you can explain it in 4 sentences, and you can teach it over 4 days, right? Exactly what Benet just said. You can go as deep as you need, as wide as you need, scale it up, scale it down, and still staying in that same, energetic, coherent, aligned, focused place.
Yeah, Lynn's looking at her post-it notes like, getting somebody in. Okay, cool. Let's keep moving. Are we ready for number 6?
Yes, thank you. Yeah, how would you describe your stuff to a savvy 15-year-old? I think is a nice exercise.
Yeah.
If you ever, or say to your friend or colleague, hey, can you pretend you're 15? Let me say this to you, right? And the kind of other half of that is, if you're describing it to a 15-year-old, what will be compelling for that person is some level of story. Like, why the hell are you calling it that? Like they don't want to know, 15-year-old doesn't want to know process. They don't want to know framework, right? But they want to know that little something, like the reason why, that's a little bit more compelling. So if I said to some 15-year-old, hey, it's really important for me to make a big impact in the world and help a bunch of people. So I, teach something called influence with a heart, so people can be good communicators and be good leaders of their companies. Yeah, that was pretty good.
That was good.
But I think you take my point, right?
Yeah. The 15-year-old is going to be pretty excited about that. They're going to think you're a really cool guy, I think.
Perhaps. Or they'll be like, that's dumb.
Or they'll be like, yeah, that's dumb. But they get it.
But
they get it.
Yeah, no.
Cool.
Yeah, but just so it lands enough so they can actually, even for half a second, go, oh, right? Like if you can open up the door, that's the beginning of the conversation, right?
Yeah.
You don't
And
have to
Jill just
build-
typed, oh, sorry, Jill just typed in, this reminded me of Einstein, who said something around, if you can't explain it to a 5-year-old, you don't know your subject well enough. So that's good.
Exactly. Cool.
And Tracy says, but then they'll get it in about 20 years. No.
Exactly. And have the cash to pay for it.
Yeah, that's fine. You're planting seeds early. I like that. I have
Building
clients
strong.
who've been following me for 4 or 5 years, 6 years, and someday they come in and buy everything I got.
Totally. Cool.
Because I'm consistent, sort of. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
And
that last one? Or
yeah, number 7 is kind of like our bridge and our springboard into the workshop stuff. Let's say we just met at a party or on a plane or whatever, and I asked you, so what do you do? What would you say to me? Right? And the goal, idea, etc., is, something that's brief, exciting, compelling, for you and for me as well. Like, you want to be saying something that is energizing to you, apparently. Like, you don't have to be crazy in front of the other person, but that it's clear that you care about your stuff, right? And what you're telling them about. And then ostensibly the things that you're saying would make that person want to work with you or refer you to someone else, right? And again, like, we don't have to jam it all in these 5 seconds, but this is kind of the goal, the intention of, this exercise and the work we're going to be doing today. And I think something that I think is really important to say here too, is that I'm jumping ahead for a second, but important point is that you never, you can do whatever the hell you want, but technically you never have to ask someone directly for business. You can say, hey, my name is Ben. I teach people how to be better leaders and communicators so they can inspire more people to say yes. Do you know anybody who needs that kind of help? Right? Takes the energy completely in a different direction. I'm not pitching this person. I'm not like, oh my God, can you help me? Like, none of that. I'm not trying to sell them. Hey, do you know anybody? And the answer most of the time is yes, because usually they know somebody if it's a business person on some level. Or actually I could probably use some of that, right? Much different energy than, hey, got this thing, you want to come on a discovery call? No.
yeah, Lynn, how is that? How are you sitting with that? Because I know we were talking about this yesterday with doing your validation calls.
I like it because no one likes to be sold to. So I'm actually kind of thinking through. I know after we talked about it, so I'm still thinking through. Actually, someone asked me this morning. So tell me, what do you do? And I've found my way through it, but I always seem to fumble, through words. And so this exercise is really helping me.
Cool.
Cool.
Happy to hear that. Thank you for sharing. Cool.
Okay,
All right,
okay, Ben. let's go. How do you want it to work? What would you like?
So basically, I would love somebody to be first, because somebody has to be first. And we're gonna kind of role play, and everybody's gonna listen. So no pressure. Everybody's gonna listen with love and attentiveness, and not jumping to the answer. Feeling their feet on the floor, the whole deal. And we will have met at a party or something, a place that you feel comfortable in. And I say, hey, it's really nice to meet you. So what do you do? I'd like to hear your response. And I might ask you a couple of clarifying questions. I might not. I might also ask you, oh, do you have a coaching program or a product? And then that's the place where you can say, yeah, I have this program, and you could use the same title you just used. And then I want to know the benefits of that program or that product. I guess in this case, we're talking about programs specifically.
Yeah.
Okay. So basically, I want to know about you, about your stuff, and what you offer. And, I want to know that it's a good idea. If not me, for someone, I love and care about and want them to succeed in their business or their life.
Yeah, and just before we get the first volunteer, I think just please don't read anything, because you guys know this stuff. I know you know it, and let Ben just guide you through the conversation. Tracy's freaking out. breathe. Like, speak from the heart. You know, like whenever some of you have experienced when we challenged Kim a couple of weeks ago on just repeating hers over and over, and finally and like some beautiful, amazing stuff came out. So just take a couple of breaths if you need to. Let Ben guide you through this. You know, you're talking to a friend, you're talking to a mate, you're showing you're explaining your magic, and you're going to learn from this process anyway. So just have fun with it, okay? Because we're all here, to love and support each other. So Ben.
Absolutely. And I would love to add two things. I invite you to put one hand on your heart gently, like as you're talking to me. Really helpful. Makes sound a little hokey. It's really helpful.
Okay.
And number two is try your darndest to look right into the camera. Because, sooner or later when you're on with a prospect or whomever, if you can make that eye contact, like you don't want to be looking down at their image in the Zoom, which is what we do because we're trying to make eye contact, but the eye contact is the camera.
I'm looking at my camera.
Exactly.
Everybody practice. Let's see. I'm going to look at you. I'm looking at mine.
And it's good because if you look at the camera, you can't read anything.
That's true. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so who's our first volunteer? Tracy, I had a feeling. Okay, let's go.
No one else was going to. I waited. Yeah.
You're a good sport. Thank you.
Hi. So just introduction?
Yeah,
Well, I don't know where Ben's going to lead.
Hey, Tracy, it's really nice to meet you. Tell me more about yourself and what you do.
Hey, Ben. Lovely to meet you. My name's Tracy. I'm the Barefoot Businesswoman, and my passion is to help business women, leave a legacy by living joyfully authentic lives, having the courage to share their superpower.
Wow. What does that mean?
That means I'm really, really passionate about women just owning who they are. They have special gifts to share, and just realizing what their natural gifts and abilities are and having the courage to share that, and knowing that they can impact the people around them and impact the world with those gifts.
That sounds really cool. It sounds like a lot of work. Is it?
No, not at all. I love it.
No, it sounds like a lot of work for the women.
No, I don't think so. Maybe to start with, there might be a few fears, but if it's in their heart and it's their purpose, then it's deep inside them anyway. It's just about finding that, getting all that other stuff out the way.
Yeah. Can you help them find that?
I can. Yes.
Yeah. And what about those fears? Can you help them navigate those fears?
Yes, certainly. I think the biggest fears women have is self-talk. Negative self-talk is probably the hugest thing, and maybe the company they keep sometimes. Yeah.
Gotcha. Really cool. Okay. And do you have a program or a coach? One of those coaching things?
I do. I do actually. It's called the Joyfully Authentic Leader. So women who want to be happy and fun and authentic in their business and in their life.
Okay, and what's the benefit of being that kind of woman and having that kind of experience?
Wow, what benefit isn't there? Wow.
You can't use that answer. I'm serious, you can't use that answer.
I told you my mind would explode. Well, the big benefits of that is just the confidence in knowing their true abilities and that they can impact, the clarity that comes around knowing your personal mission and your business mission, and knowing what you can give to other people.
Mm-hmm. And what's the benefit of that?
Yeah. The benefit of that?
Yeah.
Having the courage to share it, the clarity, getting noticed, because if you're living that joyful, authentic life, you're going to stand out from the crowd in your business.
Okay.
Can we just take a little pause there? Because everybody knows Tracy, I just love to go around and just see, can we do a little bit of a round robin? Just really
Absolutely.
quick.
Yeah, no, that was the exact time. And Tracy, thank you for responding and staying through that. Because I don't know what's going to happen when this starts. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just doing my thing.
Yeah.
And it's not personal, it's
yeah, it's cool.
Yeah.
You don't
I I want to go around. So, and we'll let you end, Ben. Okay. So, Kim, you want to kick us off because you know Tracy. What are you hearing? What's coming up for you? What feedback do you want to give her?
First of all, thank you for being brave and going first. But girl, you rocked it out. That was awesome. I felt the energy from it, and it made me feel like I want to know more about Tracy and what Tracy's doing. So I thought it was great, and it was coming directly from you. So that was awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kim. Okay, Lynn.
Yeah, I'm like Kim. Okay, I'm looking in the camera now. I felt the energy, Tracy. I wanted to know more. I just wanted you to keep going, learn more about your program and how you help them to be joyful, authentic leaders. I really was curious when he asked you about the fears. Like, I wanted to know more about the fears that you help them uncover and overcome, and then the transformation that takes place after they have overcome those fears. So good job.
Thank you.
Cool. Thanks, Lynn. Jill?
Yeah, look, I loved it. I thought the energy around that was great and very enthusiastic. I so through that process learned a lot more about what Tracy actually does, and what she can do for people. And I think that was really important, because I've kind of had a bit of an idea and we've talked about stuff, but actually really hearing what her heart was on all of that was really good. Yeah.
Thank you.
Cool. And Bola, because you haven't met Tracy before, so this will be interesting to see what you have to say. What do you think? Did you understand it? Did it resonate? Did some of it go over your head? Or, like anything is fun.
Well, I saw, that she's really passionate about what she does for these women, and I thought that was really good. But I guess I wanted to know what has been her success with these women. How have they felt as a result of working with her? So yeah. But other than
that was a missing piece for you.
Yeah.
That's great. Because actually Tracy's got a heap of success stories because of her networking group. I'm one, I will just rave and rave about Tracy forever, because I go to her networking group and it's the first group I've ever loved. It's helped me have more fun and collaborate with women in my local community. It's been just amazing. So got heaps of success stories once you just start digging. Okay, cool. It's my turn and then it's Ben's turn. I really loved, Tracy, the thing that I thought was the best. I loved, of course, you always come across as passionate, enthusiastic. I think there was a little bit of nerves because you were first, which is understandable. But I loved how Ben teased out of you finding it. I just wrote down finding it, navigate fears, company they keep. Those were all the things I was like, oh, my company I keep might not be spot on. Oh, I wanted to know more about those things and how to navigate fears. And then I found all the stuff that was after that was a little bit just kind of noise. It didn't grab me in the same way. But it might, and it's kind of like you were just starting to feel nervous and get in your head too much. I think that's what it was. I think we have the same thing where we have you and me, we both have a tendency to overtalk. Ben's pretty good at mastering that. He'll just say, succinctly, the most graceful, fastest path to the communication. But that's what he teaches what he does. Okay, Ben, your turn.
It took quite a few years to get to that.
Women have longer sentences than men too.
Fair enough. So a couple things. Tracy, passion clearly, and it's clear that that you own your stuff. You know what I mean? You got your stuff. You know what it is. I think just the most important thing is connecting the dots, right? So there's a couple things going on here. One is that, we're in just a couple of minute dialogue with each other, right? So for example, something like success stories, it's kind of hard to slam in a success story, when it's just what do you do? What does that sound? What does that mean? You'd be like, but then, I got this great testimonial from Sheila. You can't do that. That's not going to work at that time, right? But if you say something like I've helped hundreds of women, or I've helped a whole bunch of women do the ... right? Then you can kind of at least intimate or hint at the many success stories, and then talk about more of that later. You know what So that's one thing. One key thing to keep in mind is, what women do you help? So you might be able to help a bunch of women, right? Like you have a process and it can help these women and it can help these women and it can help these women. And these women and these women use slightly different language from each other, have different needs and goals and dreams and fears and frustrations and desires and all of that kind of stuff. So, your 80% of your stuff is going to be your stuff, is your core, content offering process, etc. But that other 20% is how you talk to those 2 or 3 different groups of women that you're trying to target, right? So, being a joyful, authentic leader, for, let's say, an entrepreneur, woman entrepreneur in a startup situation, is a slightly different thing than being a joyful, authentic leader for a woman executive or a woman middle manager. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So as you're, talking to that person, and Bené, I can't remember if this was our first podcast or second, the second thing we recorded, but, this idea of, you don't have to slam all your sales pitch into that 30 seconds, right? You try to make it a dialogue, try to make it like a cascading waterfall, right? Like step by step by step. And as much as you can get from the other person first, like even if it's something of, she says she's an executive, then you know how to tweak that language to say what it means in her life, what it means in her work, what it means in her day, what it means in her emotional experience versus the female entrepreneur, the woman entrepreneur. Right?
And
go ahead.
Can I just ask a question? She's talking to a man in this case, and she helps women. So what could she say to you? To get that information, if you know any, or
to say, you'd say something like, I'm looking for these kinds of women, right? So you can say executives, entrepreneurs, and leaders. You could say, passionate professional women who, are kicking ass in a positive way in the world,
That's cool.
Yeah, because it's going to depend on the man you're speaking to at that point too. Like, is he an executive? Like, is he kind of buttoned up, or is he pretty cool? Like, and I'm not, cool is not the right word. Is he pretty kind of chill? And, does he have a different style? So you want to be able to talk to that person as much, what is he going to remember? The word executive or the word, kick-ass positive.
Yeah.
Okay. We need to go ahead and move on soon. So let's do some sort of a wrap up. But just to Ben said he couldn't remember which recording we talked about this, but I'm in the middle of publishing a podcast that we recorded around Christmas time, and it was how to do an elevator pitch, and And Ben really goes through a lot of the steps about how to do your elevator pitch. So yeah, that'll be a great resource for you guys to listen to, of course, especially after having met Ben and got this opportunity. Ben, anything, and Tracy, anything you want to comment, ask, say before we move on to the next person?
I have one last thing, but Tracy, you first, if you'd like.
No, I just want to say thank you. I've written Phil's cap page of notes already. Thank you so much for your input.
Yeah, you're very welcome. Whether they know it or not, if you tell people, if you use the words, joyful and authentic leader, like they're going to want to know what that means, in a way that's relevant to their life and their business. And if it's not relevant, they're going to tune you out. There's nothing wrong with that, but just know that, you got to be able to answer. You have to be able to have reasons for all the stuff you do.
Do you think those two words are too? Should I simplify them and make it more like, instead of joyful, use fun, use happy?
Not necessarily, like I've, but basically just like
back it up.
Yeah, keep doing the stuff of asking the questions, getting the feedback, hey, am I the joy, to your group, hey, am I the joyful, authentic leader, or am I, the awesome, authentic leader, or the authentic leader of awesomeness, Yeah.
Thank you.
Pleasure. Thank you.
Kim.
Okay, who wants to go next? Okay. Okay, Kim. Thank you, Kim.
Oh, sure.
Again,
Don't sound so damn excited, okay?
Crazy nervous right now.
Put your feet on the floor. You can do Ben's little exercise. Ben, I'll hand over to you. You can guide her through it. We can all breathe with you.
Oh, okay.
I think you need to do 2 more, man.
so we're at this breathing event together.
Yeah.
We're both breathing. Okay, Kim. So what do you do?
Well, hi, Ben. I actually work with people who are struggling with their belief system. I help them to experience spiritual wholeness and unshakable faith.
Wow, that sounds pretty cool and powerful. So what does spiritual wholeness and unshakable faith look like?
What that looks like, basically, I have a belief that, in order for you to really achieve greatness in your life, you really have to tap into your spirit. That's where all the information is. And so when a person achieves spiritual wholeness, it means that in every area of their life, who they are authentically shows up, and they really have great power.
Got it. Okay. And what were you saying about the trouble with the belief system?
Yeah, well, what happens is that oftentimes, everybody has some kind of belief system. But what happens is that, you go through life and it fails you, whether it's because of people, places, or things, it fails you. And for some people, you get to a certain point where it's failed so much or so deeply that hurt is so large that they're kind of sitting on the fence and they struggle. Sometimes, these people are sitting in churches. They used to be very enthusiastic and serving as leaders, and now they're not doing very much. And sometimes people just walk away from whatever it was that they were involved with, that was their belief system. And what I want to do is help people to reconnect, because oftentimes they're walking away and they're wounded, but they still have a true belief in something. They just haven't really established all that it is. So I work with them to help them navigate through that process.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, people who believe in God, for lack of a better term, or people who believe in any kind of higher power?
Any kind of higher power. So yeah, it doesn't matter. I don't care who it is or what they call him. It doesn't matter to me.
In the people that you've talked with, anything like that, do you have a mixed, range of kind of faiths, or is it one kind of person?
Yeah, it's interesting because my background is Christian, and so it started off obviously being a lot of Christian people, but because of my own struggle that I went through, and having gone through it several times and needing to really establish what my foundation is, I have found that I've opened myself up to other people, and I have found that across all the lines, people struggle with the same sort of thing. So
absolutely, but have you spoken to them directly?
Absolutely, okay. I absolutely have. Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Great. Okay. Awesome. And I'm sorry. And do you have a program that you offer?
I do, actually. It's called Release Your Spirit.
Release Your Spirit. Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay. Got it. Okay. And what's the what are the benefits of that program, or what are my 3 bullet points?
Thank you so much for asking. So when people go through my program, the pre-work for the program is that they're going to learn about spiritual gifts, what they are, what they aren't, what they look like when they're using them, on a regular everyday basis.
Short version.
Trying to give them an understanding of how they're made up. And then through the program, what I do is I show them how to connect that to their higher power, because they were born with it, and then to how to actually establish everything that they do by utilizing their gifts more fully. So for instance, if they had a spiritual gift for pastoring, then I know that they have a gift for leadership. And so I would encourage them to move forward in leadership in whatever ways they feel passionate about.
Okay, got it. Thank you. So a couple things. So I don't think it's, and all of you, please take everything that I say with a grain of salt, right?
Yeah.
Because I say it doesn't mean I'm right. Right? Go try for yourselves, like that, that whole deal, for real. So to me, this doesn't sound like release your spirit. It sounds like reconnecting to your spirit or reclaiming your spirit.
Okay.
Right? Because
I like that.
Yeah, because it's connecting to that higher power, what that is for yourself, is kind of the message. One of the core messages that I'm hearing.
Okay.
And then so it sounds to me like, I help you reconnect with your spirit or reclaim your spirit. As it were, so you can blah, 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 right? So you don't want to tell people the 9 reasons why it's a good idea, but, who's this person in front of you
Right.
at that moment who you can say, so you in particular can do these kinds of things. Kind of the structure that I was hearing you talk about was that it sounds like you start out by creating like a spiritual profile of someone.
Yes.
Right? So I don't know if you want to call it spiritual profile, but it's some kind of something that, gives you an understanding of them and helps them have an understanding of themselves. Right? Maybe in the understanding of themselves, that, because, how do I say this? So maybe it's you've helped people who have been, disillusioned by, religion reconnect to their spiritual selves. Like, I think it's something like that. It might not be those words, but is that how's like everybody else in the room? Like, how's that kind of landing? Does that sound like, and not because I said it, but like, does that sound like Kim's stuff?
No, I actually like the word disillusion and reconnecting, because it doesn't tie them to something specific or, some or, what I mean, a religion, but I actually like the word disillusion.
And Kim, you often do say that you walk it so that you can walk in your faith every day, or that kind of walking in your faith.
Yeah.
It didn't come out today, but I wrote that down at one point when Ben asked you a question. I don't know what you think of that, walk in your faith, if that has any job.
I think it sounds great. I think it sounds very Catholic / Christian. Because Jesus did a lot of walking.
Yeah.
Totally.
Well, and Kim's got Walk It Out Wednesday. So there's a nice opportunity there if the language is right, if that word's right.
Yeah, but if you expand, if it's more than those like 5 or 7 words, then walk can be broader than just Jesus for sure.
Yeah.
The last thing I want to say is, you are doing this spiritual profile, that helps people connect to their gifts and I guess express, who they are and what they're about on the earth, I think you got to be really careful about, like helping people with their belief systems, telling them you can help them figure out their belief system. I'm not saying don't do what you're doing, but just be careful how you talk about it, because, even if people are dissatisfied, like they sometimes really hang on to their beliefs. And if you're like, I'm going to help, I'm going to help you have different beliefs, or if they get a scent of that, they're not going to want to be involved. So it's like, how do you connect with like the essence and the things that will, bring them back to themselves? That's not, you're not asking them to do or be or believe anything different. You're just helping, get clarity about, what their faith and what their spirituality means to them.
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay.
Those kind of words that I just said.
Okay.
Yeah.
We've got the recording. Kim, what's coming up for you? Do you have any questions?
No, he actually answered it, because I was about to ask more about what you meant, but when you said in the end that it was about clarity about what their faith means to them, that's what I needed to know for sure, and that's exactly what I'm looking to do.
Awesome. And then just like I will probably hammer on with everyone again and again and again, is if I reconnect with my faith and my spirituality, what does that mean for me and my business and my life? How can you articulate that to me in a way that makes sense? So I see the value in what you offer, and I see that the value in what you offer is worth at least 10 times as much as the amount of money you're going to charge me to do this.
Okay.
Got that?
Yes.
That's a tricky one, but that's the thing we all want to strive for, because if we can articulate 10 times the value and make somebody understand that, then you tell them, hey, this is worth $100,000, but, we can do it for 10,000. I mean, better language than that.
Yeah.
But then they go, oh my God, right? Like, how can I not do that?
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Cool. Anything you want to say before we're going to have to move on? I'm not going to do a round robin. We'll do one right at the end, just for time's sake. Anything closing for Ben or Kim?
No, I'm good. Thank you very much.
My pleasure. Yeah, and y'all, Benet will say this, but please mastermind with each other. Like whatever we don't have time to talk about today. Talk amongst yourselves. Trust yourselves. Trust Benet. That the whole deal.
Thanks, Ben. Okay, who's next? Jill.
Hi, Jill.
Hi.
Hi. Lay it on me.
I'm going to look at your face. Sorry, I need to see your mouth moving.
Okay. Okay. So Jill, it's really nice to meet you. Tell me what you're about, what you're up to.
Hi, I'm from Extend Coaching, and we help leaders discover their strengths and then use those strengths to move to the next level of leadership.
Okay, awesome. So what kind of leaders do you work with?
I normally work with new leaders. I work with any leaders, but my real passion is for people who are fairly new to leadership. They're often young leaders. They're often asking the question, why did they pick me? And so I really want to help them move from the why did they pick me to the yes, I can do this, I'm confident. So it's really about building confidence in their leadership.
Okay, so is the confidence part like central to everything that you do?
Confidence is central to everything we do, so that the program that we have that I'm working on at the moment is around confident leadership. And so it's really about all about moving from a level of unsure about how they can lead and why they're doing it, what their strengths are in leadership, to actually really understanding exactly what their strengths are and how they can really draw on those strengths to build confidence, to deal with difficult people, to build their teams, to really become the leader that they know is in their heart that they can actually be.
Okay, awesome. So it sounds to me like, so I'm you didn't know this, but I'm actually an executive in a Fortune 20 company, Fortune 20 global company. So it sounds to me that like you have a great program, and these are, would be a great program for like my junior leaders, but not for us senior leadership, because, we're up here as senior leadership. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. I do work with senior leaders, but my real heart is to see our younger leaders and our new leaders really get a hold of what they need to do in their organizations. I work across a broad range of organizations. A lot of my background is in not-for-profit organizations. And I have a bit of a tagline with that says sometimes when you're working in not-for-profits, you're working with volunteers who are like trying to lead a gaggle of geese, because they're difficult. They can be really hard to get on board. And so for a lot of leaders, it's really helping them have that vision, that mission for their team, to really get on board with that team and help them fulfill the organization's purpose. Okay,
got it. Thank you. And do you have a kind of program that you offer, or a consulting engagement? Do you have a name for that?
Yeah, so our consulting our company is Extend Consulting, Extend Coaching and Consulting. I'm working on a signature program at the moment. So in a number of months, I will have the program up and running. It'll be based on all of those things that we've just talked about. Okay. What are the three most important things that you want to teach or bring across? The three most important kinds of transformation that you want to create in people who take that signature program. What are those three things? I feel like confidence is one of them. What else? Yeah. Confidence is one of them. I think it's oh gosh, this is where I get a bit stuck because I'm really still working on this. But for me, I've kind of phrased it in some questions that, because the words that I hear from people are, why did they pick me? Or, do I have what it takes? And so I want to get them to have the confidence to do that. And then it's all around I don't know how to lead a team I feel confident in leading my team kind of thing. So I'm still working on those really 3 key things at the moment.
I'm going to push back slightly and say it all sounds like confidence to me.
It is. A lot of it is around confidence, and that's where I'm at with the program at the moment. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
Okay, awesome. I mean, could your program be called The Confident Leader?
I'm working on becoming a confident leader or confident leadership or something like that. Yeah. Okay, great. If you told me, if I said what's your program and you said becoming a confident leader, besides confidence, what does it take to be a confident leader? I think it's around having the information and the knowledge about what leadership is, and it's about communicating with people, dealing with difficult people.
Okay. Got it.
Yeah.
Got it. So it's confidence, understanding what real leadership is, so to speak, and communication, right? So it sounds like you have 3 things going on now.
Yep.
Right? Is that accurate?
Yep.
Okay. Yep. Awesome. Okay. And then the teaching people to be a good leader, like why, not I don't want to know your credentials. It's not that I don't want to know them. I don't want to know them right now. But like how there's a million ways to be a good leader, says everybody. Like, why is your way the way that's a good way to be a confident leader?
The type of leadership that we work with is really around transformation. It's called transformational leadership. And so it's rather than a transactional leadership, which is I lead you, you get paid to be on board, you get a reward for turning up, you get a reward for doing something well. It's really about transformation. It's about relationships in leadership. It's about collaboration as a leader, about all-inclusive team moving forward. And so it really is around vision and creativity and innovation as a team, and taking all of that together to move forward.
Okay, awesome. So I think you're now a confident collaborative leader, or it's confident collaborative leadership. Is that's a little bit more, again, I'm not trying to pigeonhole, but I'm trying to keep, like, how do we keep it simple? How do we talk to the 15-year-old? They're savvy, like, don't forget that. Different people have different feelings about the term transformational leadership, whether they know it or what it might imply to them. So I just, I would just suggest, zero in on whether it's right in the headline or the subhead, those 3 things around, confidence, true leadership, or whatever you want to call that, collaborative leadership, and, clear communication, clear collaborative communication, like, you know what I mean? Like get, like stay in those places, stay tight to those words.
Yep.
And, I would, whether you do it on camera or write it down, write it and read it out loud or listen to yourself, because you were explaining it to me and like I got it, but it was also very formal and there was a lot of extra detail, right? And that's all of the things that you don't want in a conversation, as you know, but all of the goods are in what you said, right? So if you can just like kind of, as Benet and I have both spoken about already, give yourself this constraint of, confidence, leadership, communication, and hold it in that and try to talk about it just through that lens. And even if you don't have the name for it, say, this is what I do, because maybe when you see what you do, then you can turn around and slap a name on it.
Jill, what are your 3 to 5 main steps in your signature program outline?
Hang on while I just find them.
I was trying to see if I could find them too.
Yeah.
They're somewhere.
So The first one was, do I have what it takes to be a leader? The second step.
Just read, just read through them real quick.
I'm just looking at them, trying to read my handwriting. That's terrible. It's about creating a compelling vision, effective communication, dealing with difficult people, potential, the team's potential, and wanting to be the best example ever, inspiring, which was around the question of how can I be the best example to others. So it's about being an example.
Yep.
I don't know if that added anything for you, Ben, but I thought it could be worth just looking at that.
Thank you for asking. Yeah, I mean, I think so. Those all sound like, because they are really important leadership things. But the challenge here is why your process, and why not somebody else's process for those things. So if you can be able to talk about, like communication that does A, B, and C, so you can avoid the challenge of D, E, and F. You know what I mean? Make it your own communication. Make it your own description of confidence. Make it your own articulation of leadership. Leadership that's based on the last 100 years of the most innovative people. You know what I mean? Like make it, give it some give it some grandeur and some kind of heft, but don't overblow it, because you're also going to be talking to up and coming corporate leaders, right? So you want to show them in their language, whatever age those up and coming people are, these are the things you need, these are the things that people mostly struggle with, this is how we can get you through that, and this is why it makes sense to you, young leader, and why you shouldn't waste your time with all of those other people.
Yep.
It's put you on the fast track to leadership awesome. I'm going to keep using that word. Yep. Awesomeness.
Fast track to leadership awesomeness. That's totally like Jill's language. Okay, Jill, do you have any final questions before we move on? I'm just want to keep us flowing.
No, I'm just looking at my stuff and like the little extra bits around. So one of the things that I'm working on is making sure that I put all those steps in the language that they use, so that it does connect with the language that they use. So the dealing with difficult people, the language I got back was, I hate having hard conversations. So it'll be around having those hard conversations. And one of them was about how do you include, this came from people who are working in churches, and how do I include really difficult people who have, old ideas and are really rigid and stuff. So, yeah.
Ben's he had a light bulb.
I did have a light bulb. So it's something like, confidence, connection, and communication for up and coming executives.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think that's even if it's not those words, I think that's the gist.
Yep.
Right? So if you can build around the gist, like if you open up the discussion by just saying that to someone, that opens up the door, because it's only like 3 pieces of information. They're like, oh, okay, I get that. And then you can go into the details from there, right? But you don't want to give them the details before you open the door.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you get those 3 words, Jill?
Yep, I have them written down. Thank you.
Confidence, communication, connection for up and coming executives. So you've already jumped up. You are not talking about new leaders. You're actually talking about where they're headed in the future.
Yeah, and right. Yeah. Some aspirational, exciting, that kind of
cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's
cool.
Great.
Thank you, Jill.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Okay. Lynn has told me that she's ready to go next.
Okay. Hi, Lynn. Oh, unmute.
Okay.
Thank you. So, Lynn, it's really nice to meet you on this transnational flight to some really cool country that we're on the way to, with the cool lighting and it's like Virgin or something, right?
Nice to meet you. Yeah, I'm on my way to Costa Rica.
Nice. I hear so many great things about that place.
Never been, but I'm so looking forward to it.
Nice. Awesome. So Lynn, tell me about yourself. What do you do?
I help introvert professional women become comfortable, confident, and visible for their target audience. And then I help them recognize that their introvertedness is a gift.
Okay. That sounds really cool. So what kind of, did you say these were professional women?
Yes.
Are
So
these
they are professional women. They can either be in the beginning of their professional career, mid or advanced. I also like to work with women who desires to become business owners, and helping them work through fears of, I think I just now mentioned something else. Help them overcome their fears of and making that leap.
Yeah. Got it. Okay, good. And do you have some kind of coaching program, or do you sell a product, or have you written a book?
Right now, I'm working on developing a signature program, so I do not have a coaching program at the moment.
Okay, got it. If you did, what would you call it?
Listen, I am totally nervous. You do not put introverts on the spot, okay? I'm just telling you.
Yeah. Do you know what's really funny?
One of the things you teach.
Yeah.
Everything has gone out the window today. Everything.
Nice. That's good. That's often a great time, when there's all sorts of possibility. I'm going to digress for just a second. I'm a super duper introvert. Like you may not get it from, how I show up like this.
Yeah.
But I am such a big fan of nobody being around me in a really big way. Like I really, really recharge alone. And I love to do this, and this is part of my mission, and this is part of my purpose. But God, the door is closed.
After this, you have to just recharge alone. I get it.
Exactly. So I feel you 100%. And this is the challenge and the opportunity we as introverts have, is to how do we put ourselves out there, whether it's in something like this or face to face and talking about our stuff. So I think the approach to introvert women is great, right? Because I'm sure there are plenty of women women who would jump on that and identify as such. Maybe instead of comfortable, confident, and visible, because I don't know if they want to be visible, because I think that's the thing they're trying to avoid. But they might want to be confident, and comfortably connected to the people to their clients or the people they serve. Something like that. So like you hit the confidence part, you hit the connection part, you talk about clients because everybody always wants to know how to get clients, right? You get the word service in there, which a lot of people resonate with because it doesn't sound like, hard sell stuff. Professional women is great. I think you got to be careful about, I can do this with everybody. I'm not saying that's not true. I'm just saying that if you say you can do it with everybody, then the general impression is that you can do it with nobody, right? That's like and I don't mean this in any judgmental, critical way. It's like an amateurish marketing approach. My thing can help everybody. You're like, no, it can't, and it won't, because you're not speaking to any single person at that moment, so nobody's actually going to listen, right? So if you say something like, I help, women leaders, and you can do all of this, but like start with one and kind of dig in. I help women leaders, introvert women leaders be more calm, confident, and connected, so they can move themselves and their businesses or their organizations to the next level, right? You want to be able to talk about the goals, dreams that, they want, and show them that you're the person who can help them get there, through your, through your service, through your program, right? So it's naming them, on some level, speaking to them, saying words that they resonate with, like, introvert, confidence, calm. Maybe a word is safe. I don't know. So I would really ask your people, like, what does it mean to be an introvert business for you? Introvert businesswoman or your leader, like, what does that mean for you? How does it show up? What's the tough stuff? How do you deal with it? Right? Let your people tell you tell you the stuff. And there's got to be, a good amount of stuff online. If somebody hasn't written the book, The Introvert Businesswoman, I would suggest maybe you buy that URL right now, right? Or The Introvert Woman Leader, probably businesswoman, maybe a little softer on the mouth. But you kind of get where I'm coming from with all of this. Yeah, I mean, you want to connect with them, you want to connect with their emotions, you want to make them know, okay, this is like, she gets me. She gets me what I'm struggling with. She gets where I want to go. I know she's an expert, but I feel like she's a likable, caring expert kind of person that I could really, be interested in reading her stuff and finding out more. Right?
This is helpful because I found, I think it was last night or maybe the session before, working with Benet, that I catch myself. I've become more conscientious about the words because of introverts. We do kind of, we shy away from large amounts of interaction. So I want to be careful about, I want to draw them, attract them. So I'm very careful about the words that I use. So that's, I'm glad you mentioned all that.
Cool. Yeah, and thank you for saying that, because maybe something else that you say, I don't know if it's right out front or soon thereafter, is, I help women business leaders, if this is appropriate, create or deal with, the right amount of people for them. You know what I mean? Like, I help, women who want to be coaches be one-on-one coaches, and I help people who want to do small group stuff, and I help, leaders, who want to work with, small companies, right? Like on, in an environment and on a level that works for them. You know what I mean? So I'm not saying definitely do that, but that might be a draw for someone. Not only that you help them kind of achieve these goals, but you help them, kind of create that environment for themselves, or maybe even this is bubbling a little bit, have the confidence to speak to 200 people in the way that they speak to 2 people. You know what I mean? I think it's something like that, So it's not so much the size of the room, it's the, that they can do what they do one-on-one with, one on 100 or 1,000. Yep.
Yeah. That's that right there resonated with me.
Cool. Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome. My pleasure. Benet or anybody else, any suggestions for Lynn or feedback?
I think we're good. I think we're all kind of digesting everything. Let's go ahead and hand over to Dr. Bola, and then we'll do our wrap up.
Great.
Oh, wow. Okay.
You got this.
Okay. So, okay, Ben, are you going to start, or should I just start?
I am going to start. Thank you. So Dr. Bola, like it's neat to see you at this event. Yeah, I was starting to get a little crazy because everybody's just like all into themselves, and I want to have a real conversation with a real human being who's actually going to listen to what I'm saying, and who's maybe doing something interesting with their life. What are you up to?
So I am an educational consultant and coach. I help teachers find solutions to classroom challenges that affect their teaching and their students' learning.
Okay. And what kind of, what is this, kindergarten teachers? Are these college teachers?
So these are kindergarten to 12th grade teachers.
Yeah, interesting. I was in kindergarten through 12th grade at one point. And I remember making life really hard for my teacher. Is that what this is about, or is there something else that you're helping navigate?
Yes. So a lot of times when teachers come to me, they are already frustrated with things like classroom management. They frustrated with time management, and also motivating the unmotivated student. So these are some of the things that come up in our discussion. And so what I do is I teach them preventative steps to take toward classroom management, time management, and, motivating the unmotivated student.
Okay, got it. Okay, thank you. Do you have a program, or have you written a book, or do you have some kind of method that you use?
So what I do is, the method that I use is really instructional coaching. So I go into the classroom and I really observe teachers, and I then have meetings with them afterward where I give them feedback. So I'm kind of like the blind spots of teachers. So that's what we do. So I go into the classroom, I do an observation of teacher actually teaching, take notes, and then we have a post-observation discussion. Right now, I am working on a signature program at the moment, and it's actually going to be called the Blueprint to Educators, classrooms, finding classroom solutions, something like that. I haven't really, but it's along those lines.
Yeah. Got it. So, but both of my parents and many people in my family were classroom teachers, and they all hated when somebody came in to observe them.
Right.
So how does that work for your business?
So what I do is I go in at the request of the principal, the school leader, the principal, and really I work with a core group of teachers. So I meet with them before I go in, and we talk about an opportune time for them. We discuss some of the things that they want me to actually come and observe and see, and then I go in and I take notes based on that, and then additional notes based on anything else that I see that's affecting their teaching.
Yep, great. Okay, so your client is more the principal than the teacher.
Yes, well, it's both, but yeah.
The person who's
inviting me, right,
and paying you. Yeah.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay, got it. Perfect. Thank you.
Yep.
Awesome. So a couple quick things. So hey, what do you do? And for everybody, all of us, don't say I'm a this who,
Okay.
I'm an educator, I'm a business person. Don't say that. Nobody cares.
Okay.
They really don't.
I was going to ask you that too.
Okay. And I'm not invalidating anything that we all do. I'm just saying nobody cares, right?
Okay.
They want to know the story. They're curious, or they're bored, and they either want their curiosity satisfied, or they want to hopefully not be bored anymore. We have to give humans great credit sometimes and not great credit other times, like at a time like this.
Okay.
Right. So, I help teachers do A, B, and C so they can D, E, and F.
Okay.
Right.
Right.
And and I say, cool. And you say, yeah, I love doing it because it helps teachers, be better, happier, healthier, whatever those words are. And it helps, kids learn better and, have better classroom interactions. You know what I mean? So, because I think that one of the risks that a lot of educators find, so I'm from New York originally, Board of Education in New York, bad reputation, maybe it still has.
I'm from there too.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, cool. So a lot of those things sound like educational, institutional, things that have to be done as part of education. So it's really important for you, I think, to, bring in some verve and pizzazz, why I was suggesting that, I love doing this because it helps teachers like this and it helps kids like this.
Like this. Okay.
You know what I mean? Because then it's not just, hey, I do this job.
Right.
Do this thing that I love that actually has these really cool tangible outcomes.
Because it helped. Yep.
Yeah. So that's one of them. Instead of the word preventive or preventative, change that to proactive.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, like you don't want. I mean, preventative might be the right word too. I'm not saying but like, I don't want to have to get preventative things to like deal with my students, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
I want proactive solutions that are, forward thinking, that kind of thing. And then I think your three things are class management, time management, and motivation management.
I like that.
Yeah. Because that sounds really compelling to me as a principal, I think. Right?
Yeah. I like that.
I help principals transform their schools. You know what I mean? So I don't help teachers do this. I help principals do this. This is how I do it. Do you know any principals who might need this kind of help? Right? Like maybe somebody knows a teacher too, and that's great, but that's not your audience.
Okay.
And then you can start connecting with principals. This is how I help. And what's the language that principals use for their fears, frustrations, needs, desires, goals, dreams? What's their biggest challenge? Kids passing, failing, violence in schools, bullying, whatever else you're dealing with in your part of the world, yeah.
Ben, can we just get a little more clarification? You keep circling back to the thing of what are your three things. Can you just expand on that just a little bit more? So, because I think everybody's like really grabbed onto that and they're thinking about what are my three and why is that important?
Thank you. Yeah. It's funny because it's, on the list of, there's a gazillion things to teach all the time. And that fell to the bottom of the list. So presenting stuff in a framework of 3 or 4 is really, really helpful. Earlier on this call, we talked about, the ways that you describe yourself or the 3 to 4 pillars of your business. So mine were, leadership, empathy, story, leadership, and mindfulness, right? So 3 to 4 things is helpful. It's organizational. It constrains your stuff. It helps people from the outside understand in simple terms, like who you are and what you're about. We human beings, our short-term memory, we can hold 3 to 4 pieces of information, before it goes into long-term memory or is lost. So a 3-prong, 3-tier framework, 4-tier framework is exactly what you want because people can hold that in their head. I talk about these 3 things. I talk about time management, motivation management, and classroom management. And I can hold that in my head.
Yeah.
And I'm a principal and I'm like, that's brilliant. Those are all the things we need. And then you can write a series of blog posts, 4 blogs of classroom management, 4 blogs of, time management, 4 blogs of motivation management. And you can do the same thing for your product or your program, 4 sessions of this, 4 sessions of this. You know what I'm saying? Like keeping it coherent, using a framework, scaling it up, scaling it down. That works really well in the space of 3 to 4. When you get to 5 and 6 and 7, like, it turns into a mess. Is that enough detail on the 3?
I was trying to tell her to talk on mute. Like, perfect. I think it's going to really help Tracy too, because she's been struggling with, I think, having so much content and so many ideas that it'll help. Like, just like it's okay. 3 is enough. Like we kind of feel like we need to over deliver or over teach or cover everything in the whole world, but actually, it's simplifying it. It really helps our students onboard it and integrate it.
Yep, at the top level and at the front end. But like once you get them in the door, then you can lay on whatever you want to lay on. But just say, here's another aspect of purpose.
Right.
And then talk about whatever the hell you want to talk about, right? But give them an anchor for the thing based in the thing that you've already taught them.
Yeah. So can you give us an example? So let's just say in Kimberly's, in Dr. B's example where she's going to talk about motivation, for example, she might say, so that's one of her 3 pillars in a marketing sense and upfront. But then when she goes actually into her signature program and what she teaches, she could actually teach how many lessons? I mean, is there a limit?
No, as long as it's, as long as you do the math the right way. So it can be 3 modules, it can be 6 modules, it could be 9 modules, it could be 12 modules, right?
Right.
Yeah.
You can go as deep as you want.
Okay.
Go as deep as you want, as broad as you want. So my book is called Influence with a Heart. My framework is empathy, story, thought, leadership with on a triangle. And then I say with a dash of mindfulness to kind of keep it fun. That's the way. I wrote a book called Influence with the Heart. I have an introduction. I broke up the book into those 4 sections.
Right.
Chapter 1, 2, 3, 4. Talked my way through. Right. When I do my coaching, I either will do full segments on each of those things, or I'll say, today we're going to talk about all 4 of those things, and this is how they combine.
Okay.
Right? You keep coming back to that kind of simple thing. If you can see it, like there's my triangle, right?
Yeah.
And then I can just kind of keep, so this is a great, opens up the door, and then I keep referring back to this, and people keep going, oh yeah, that triangle. Oh, that's Ben's thing. that's the influence with the heart thing, right? Like you want to get them to go, oh, that's her thing, that's his thing.
Right.
Start associating that with you.
So sometimes you'll see like coaches who have, it's not a triangle, like it's a 20-piece puzzle. Like you have 3 parts and you have to stick it all together. Ben's shaking his head.
Yeah, no, that's something that can be super helpful for inside of a program, or as a part of an assessment where you go in and dig in, etc. But the stuff that you want to bring them in the door with is not that. Like people don't want your process. People want the outcomes of your process in their lives or in their business. Right? Like, an old mentor of mine, or former, I should say, well, not former. I guess there once a mentor, always a mentor. Someone named Eben Pagan. He always said that your product or service very often gets in the way of your ability to sell your thing to the person who needs it. Right? Stop talking about your product. Talk about the benefits, talk about the emotional, underpinnings of that benefit that are relevant in that person's business, in their life, the conversation that they can't get out of their head, the thing that keeps them up at night, right? All right back to this very simple, hey, I do this, this, and this. People want someone who can be that articulate, that clear, that concise, because there's a lot of trust in that. I can follow that. I get that. I get that. And because those are really good words that are relevant to me, I get that you get me. If you tell me 20 things, you don't get me because at least 2 of them are not on my list. Right? And if out of 20 things, if someone answers no, hey, is this you? Do you do this? Yes, 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 yes. No, they're done. Very often because we're all fickle human beings. Look out for the food. They will be your next customer.
I want to ask a question, and then we'll open up for just a couple more questions, and then we'll do a final wrap up. Is that okay?
Yep, totally.
I'm curious. I would love to hear what you have to say about, the how the 3 pillars in this initial conversation is pitched at the right level so that they see the value and so that they're willing to pay for it. Because I think that's something that we talk about a lot in our group and, and communicating the value. Can you just talk a little bit about that? Like you mentioned before, like 10 timesing it by, when you were talking to Kim. I loved that. I wondered if you could expand that just a little bit more for us.
Yeah. Okay, so let me try to think of an example here, because I think there's always I'm going to start with a disclaimer and then use an example. So the disclaimer part is that Benet, you just asked a great question, and everything is tied together to some extent, and then sometimes as humans we have the desire and the opportunity to just jam everything together because we think it also has to fit in together. So just say, be careful of there's a little bit of a, it's not just like 3 pillars equals 10x value, right? Like, I want to make that distinction right now, even if it sounds painfully obvious. It's 3 pillars are the basis for the discussion and the interaction and the relationship that leads you to be able to articulate the 10 times of value. Okay, so that's the disclaimer. The example is, hey Ben, what do you do? I help organizations. I help organizations empower their customer service reps and people to create a better customer experience for their customers. Sorry, I'm a little redundant here. To create a better customer experience so the customers will be loyal for a much longer amount of time. Because getting a new customer in this industry sorry, I'm back and forth. I'm doing percentages in my head. Getting a new customer in this industry is 9 times more expensive than keeping a customer that you already have, right? So I'm going to show you and do this with your company, so you can, basically we know that we can help you keep, 100, let's say, customer service employees, at the cost of, I'm just going to make something up, $100 a pop. What's that? $10,000. And if you had to go out and find them, right, those 100 new reps, that would cost you $90,000. So I'm going to save you $90,000 by showing you how to retain, those customers. And if you retain your customers, if you retain your reps, they're going to have longer term with relationships with the customers, so they're going to stick around longer. Those longer term customers are going to refer you to their families and friends and colleagues. So at a very conservative level, I've already articulated 9 times the value, right? But if you think about it and you think about the marketing costs that you're saving and all those kinds of things, and onboarding costs and getting people up to speed and HR and insurance and blah, 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 we're looking at, we're probably looking at $200,000 or $300,000 in savings, for, a $10,000 consulting engagement, or, a $10,000 process.
Yeah. Thank you. That was a really great example. I loved how you just kept talking about the ripple effect without actually using even too many numbers. Like, they're already, the listeners, calculating and saying, oh, wow. So that was really cool. And I can see how Jill can apply that. I can see how Lynn can apply it. I can see how Bola can apply it, because they're in kind of more of a business space. But I'm just wondering for Kim and Tracy, where they're selling, like having more fun in your business, or, getting in alignment with your faith. How do you 10 times the value of that when it's more of a personal thing?
That's a great question. Thank you for saying that. Value is not just dollars, right? Value is time, money, energy, saving a relationship, having your health so you can live the life you want, and be able to be alive for your for your grandchildren's high school graduation, right? It's that kind of stuff. That kind of stuff is priceless. I can help you create an at-home business that allows you to homeschool your kids, because that's what you want to do, and do that for the first 18 years of their lives. And spend all of this really, important connected time with them, so you don't have to go to a 9-to-5 job and have them grow up without you. That's only going to cost $20,000, right?
Right. Anybody want to? I want to say, anybody want to throw something in? Because I think this is a cool discussion.
Yeah.
Anything coming up for anybody, especially Tracy, Kim? Or any questions for, the people who are in more of a business space that can talk dollars? No. So would you suggest, for the ladies who can talk dollars, they actually weave some of those other things in there too?
Yeah, we've been right. So there are things that every business owner wants, whether it's a single business owner, an entrepreneur, or like a company, you know what I mean? Like the owner of this company, there are certain things that the business wants, right? They want more money, like less expenses, more efficiency, more engagement, you know, more productivity, you know, better customer service or customer experience, you know, faster process to, you know, make their first dollar online, you know, faster way to get to a certain health goal, you know, without killing themselves, you know, better way to study for tests that none of us ever learned in high school. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, for the person who wants to leave their day job and start their own business, if you can show them how to build, you know, a full functioning business in 3 months for just 5 hours of, you know, super structured time a week, like people would be all over that if you could prove the method, right? And prove the results. So it's asking people what they need, right? What they want, what they need, how they want it, how they need it, what's in the way, what can help them get there. You know, you might want to bring somebody into your coaching program, but maybe they're not ready, right? But, you know, can you downsell them into a $297 product that prepares them for your coaching, like gets them ready? Like they have the money, but they don't feel like they're ready, and maybe they're not. So sell them something to make them ready that will give them a ton of value, right? 10x the value, $2,000 value, you know, lays the groundwork for this thing. So when you come into my big coaching program, when you come into, you know, my most excellent coaching program, you know, you're going to be ready. We're going to hit the ground running, you know, so out of the gate, like we're not going to spend, you know, the first 2 months of the 6 months or year, like just collecting information. We would have done all of that already and laid the groundwork, and we're just going to start coaching right away, you know, start helping you get results right away.
Yeah.
And then the more, you know, as soon as you get results and the more stuff you do, like you're cultivating confidence, the confidence, you know, there's momentum behind that. It attracts other people to you. You know, it's a positive feedback loop, right? The more confident you are, the more you want to do stuff, the more stuff you will do, the more people are going to listen to you because you sound confident. The more people are going to want to be like you. They're going to start asking you, how did you do that? Be like, I don't know.
No, you see, they have these steps. Okay, we need to wrap it up there because we've been going for 2 hours. Thank you, everybody, for hanging in. I know my brain's about to explode, so you guys must be feeling it too. I do want to just go around the group because I love closing up with a little bit of an acknowledgement. And also, if you could just share with Ben and me, because I think this is really feedback for us because we're really testing this process. What was the biggest takeaway from this lesson for you? Who is ready to kick us off? Jill.
Hi, I'm going to kick it off because I actually have to be at another appointment in 5 minutes, so I will be heading off. So excuse me if I just duck out part way. I think the biggest takeaway for me was actually just clarifying what those 3 things were for my organization, because I had the confidence thing down pretty well, but actually connecting what those other 2 words were, it's been really helpful to clarify that. And I just really wanted to thank Ben for the time and the insight that he has given to each one of us. Has been really amazing, and really lovely to see everybody. I do have to buzz off, so I'm going to have to leave as soon as I've finished here. But thank you, Benet, for organising it. It's been fabulous. So yeah, really, really, really helpful. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Jill.
Yeah,
Kim.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Kim.
Okay. So this has been awesome. Thank you, Benet, for arranging it. And for me, first of all, the word reconnect that hit me in a very strong way. So I'm so glad that you said that. I think it's the perfect word, and I can go back and look at things differently now and really create some things around that because it's exactly what I'm doing. And truthfully, just listening to the way you used the process to work with everyone helped me to be able to kind of step back and think about how I could do this with myself again later, because I'm going to need to. But it was just very helpful. And one of the things that I wrote down was to be intentional about the words that I use, right? Because if there was nothing else, if I walked away with nothing else, and I did, knowing that I need to be intentional, very intentional about the words that I use, and that I'm speaking the language of my people in a way that resonates with them right away, that's just perfect. So I just want to say thank you. And thank you to everyone for their attention.
Awesome.
Thanks, Kim. Who wants to go next?
I'll go.
Okay.
So this has, even though I've been really tired, this has been really good. I took a lot of notes, and one of the things that the two words that I liked that Ben used was comfortably connected instead of visible. Because even while I was working with Benet, I didn't tell her, but I thought when I got to the word visible, for some reason, it was just kind of bling, 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 because introverts, we don't like to be visible. So how can I word this in a way that it's soft and it's safe? Because that word visible was not going to attract my people. So I like that. So thank you for your time, and thank you, Benet. Benet is just awesome for the work and just inviting me here.
You're welcome. My pleasure.
Awesome. Thanks, Lynn. Tracy or Dr. Bola? Who wants to go next? Bola.
Okay, I can go next. I had a lot of light bulb moments because what you got out of me was the fact that even though I strongly am an advocate for teachers, and I guess because I was a former teacher, former assistant principal, and I see sometimes when I go into these schools how the principals are just not really as supportive. Like I get a lot from the teachers' perspective. I think that I've just been in my mind just advocating for them. So all my messaging has been supporting teachers. But what was interesting was that when Benet had me do the three what was it? Where I had to go and the three challenges, to seek the three challenges of my clients, that one of the things that the teachers were mentioning, along with what I had mentioned, the time management and all that, was admin support, the lack of administrative support. So I was thinking, okay, how can I help you with that? Like it really has to do with the administrator. But what you had me think about was the fact that the principal is actually my client in support of the teachers. So I need to message it that I am in alignment with I don't know how I'm going to word it, but I'm supporting the principals to support the classroom teachers and meeting their challenges, their classroom challenges. So some kind of way I have to share. And I know Benet and I will brainstorm that, but basically it'll be a win-win because this is what the teachers are saying is lacking.
Yep. Beautiful.
So, yeah. So thank you so much. Thank you.
My pleasure. You're very welcome.
Yeah.
Okay, Tracy.
Thank you so much, Ben, for sharing your magic. Benet, as usual, thank you for always organizing something that helps us grow and stretches us. I think my biggest aha moment was the 20% language that you talked about, Ben, that the 80% is core, but depending on who I'm speaking to, that 20% language and finding out who they are, what they do, and I can tweak my language to speak to those people, or at least, get some decent referrals from those people as well, if they're not my, people. And the other thing was the way you said to insert testimonials without making them look like testimonials.
Great.
Because I'm not a big salesperson. I like for it to be just, So thank you very much. It was awesome.
You're very welcome. Yeah, it's not sales. It's all about invitation.
Yeah. Knowing that you're available if they need you.
Yeah. Just on that, Tracy, you're going to love the podcast that I'm about to publish with Ben, because it's all about being able to, that 20% language thing, like
cool.
tailor what you're about to say to the person you're talking to.
Cool. Thank you.
Goes into that in a lot more detail. Cool. Okay, Ben, what would you like to share with the group or say before, just to wrap up?
Yeah, thank you. So Benet, first of all, thank you so much for, having me here again. I appreciate working with you. It's been really, really a blast. Yeah, and you all, are all doing like amazing stuff, and like I can hear, the passion, but much more than the passion. Like I can hear the connection, to the thing that you're offering or to the things, and that's huge. Like that resonates so tremendously. So just please have the the faith and the trust in yourselves that you will find the words, and then when the words have to evolve, they will evolve. You can just help people understand how this is going to impact them without screwing up their situation or their pocketbook or their life. Like help them not be scared, help them see the possibility. Then you pretty much can't go wrong.
Okay, I know we got to go, so we're going to wrap up there. Thank you, everyone.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.